Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Silent Hill. In the last part, we arrived in the final area, Nowhere, and now we're heading towards Endgame. Oh, apparently we found Alessa's room. Sort of. And then we have the Unk, the next of the items we need to actually end the game. I think that's number 3 out of the 5 from memory, maybe 4 out of 5. I can't remember, honestly. We're getting there all the same. Now, something I briefly brought up, I think when we were in the hospital, was how Silent Hill handles horror versus how Resident Evil does. I feel a really good comparison is generally how Resident Evil's a B movie, meant to be like modeled after Western B horror movies, whereas Silent Hill is much closer to like an Eastern horror movie, where the horror is how unknowing or unbeatable the monster is. Resident Evil in Western horror is very much about figuring out what's going on, beating and getting down to business with whatever the monster is. Sometimes there's the twist ending of if it's inescapable in some regard, but usually they beat him at the end. Silent Hill is closer to how things like The Ring work, where the monster in some ways is just unknowable or isn't just the monster. Like, as later Silent Hill games come out, we learn more about the area, we learn more about the cult behind it all, but it seems sometimes that the monster is the town itself, which, given what little we know about the town in some regards, would fit. And I like that little dichotomy between the two series, in that they both get to do very drastically different focuses, with Silent Hill's more horror focus and Resident Evil's more action focus, especially as the series developed. But they also just handle horror completely differently. I like that a lot.
Everything is going according to plan, sheltered in the womb.
But it's not done yet. Half the soul is lost. That is why the seed lies dormant.
And what soul remains captured in that husk is buried deep down in the subconscious.
Are you trying to say it won't work? That wasn't our agreement.
No, these are just stalling tactics. If we lend a hand, we will be able to get power. Never fear, the promise shall not be broken.
But the power we could draw now will be very weak. Almost nothing. Unless we get the other half of the soul.
We'll use a magical spell. Feeling this child's pain, it's sure to come.
But that will take time.
I think that fills in a couple of the gaps for the story thus far, doesn't it? Why we ended up here, why Cheryl wanted to come here and all that. It's all because of Alessa. And here we have, I think, the final of the items. This is the Disc of Ouroboros. This is the final one from memory. I had a little wrong a moment ago. So now we can go enter the final door and take care of the final boss. They are thankfully a bit more merciful than your usual Resident Evil, though, in that the final item is located right next to the door we need to enter. This is Alessa's room proper, and as we can see, she has a habit of collecting butterflies, which might actually be where the whole thing for the moth fight comes from. And here is also your last save point in the game. Make sure you save right here, unless you're trying to do a limited save run, because it's all downhill from here. It's locked. Thou possess them to guard thy spirit, evoke 5 rites, unveil thy fate. If you haven't found the 5 items, you have to go and grab them. The Dagger of Melchior, the Amulet of Solomon, the Disc of Ouroboros, the Ankh, and I'm forgetting the 5th one. I do like one little effect here, where the more pieces you put in, they slowly add more and more to the music in this area until it's the theme from the previous room. It's a surprisingly effective effect. Once all fire are placed, you're primed for the endgame. Let's get it started.
Come along. No. No, I don't want to. Do what Mommy tells you now. I just want you to lend me a teeny bit of your power. That's all. No. I don't want to do it. It will make everyone happy, and it's for your own good, too. Oh, but Mommy, I just want to be with you. Just two of us. Please understand. Oh, yes, I see. Maybe Mommy has been wrong. Mommy! Why didn't I see this before? There's no reason to wait. Herein lies the mother's womb, containing the power to create life. I could have done it all myself. Mommy?
I do wonder if at any point in development there was an intended ending where you could have realized Dahlia was lying to you from the start and then just do stuff to stop her from there. At the same time, though, that feels more like an ending that would belong in something like a different version of Shattered Memories. Silent Hill 1 is very direct in what it's trying to do compared to a lot of the later games. Alright, get ready, because down here, the final boss awaits. And it's also here where your ending becomes more obvious.
I was shocked to realize the talisman of Metatron was being used. In spite of the lost soul returning at last. Just a little longer and all would have been for naught. It's all because of that man. We must be thankful to him. Even though Alessa has been stopped, his little girl has to go. What a pity.
Freeze! What in the devil's name? Ah!
Dahlia.
Well, well, well. To think you'd make it this far.
Where's Cheryl? What have you done to her?
What are you talking about? You've seen her many times, restored to her former self.
I'm in no mood for jokes.
Don't you see? She's right there.
That's absurd.
You are the only one who thinks so.
Why? Why are you doing this?
It's been a long 7 years. For the 7 years since that terrible day, Alessa has been kept alive, suffering a fate worse than death. Alessa has been trapped in an endless nightmare from which she never awakens. He has been nurtured by that nightmare, waiting for the day to be born. That day has finally come. The time is nigh. Everyone will be released from pain and suffering. Our salvation is at hand. This is the day of reckoning, when all our sorrows will be washed away. when we return to the true paradise. My daughter will be the mother of God.
Quit screwing around. Return things to how they were before.
Kaufman!
Did I ask for this? Nobody uses me. You won't get away with this.
Your road is over. We don't need you anymore. What do you think you could accomplish by coming here?
My, aren't we getting cocky? Bet you can't see this.
A glove it is! I thought I got rid of that!
All I had to do was plant it somewhere for you to find. You all, well, it kept you busy. Ha! You're easy. And there's more where this came from.
Stop it!
Huh? What the?
And thus we find ourselves at the final boss against the Incubus, or the demon, or as it really looks like it's meant to be, Baphomet. This boss is tough. It doesn't really move much, and it only has one attack, which is to hit you with this lightning, which really hurts. But by this point in the game, if you've been as avoidant with combat as I have, you probably have more than enough rifle and shotgun ammo to just completely go through its health. When you get low, use an ampule to restore yourself to full health, as well as keep either your health regenerating slightly or your defense up. Again, I forget exactly how it works in Silent Hill 1, and just keep hammering ammo in until it inevitably dies surprisingly quickly for a horror game final boss. That's Silent Hill's good plus ending, at least. There's a reason this video is the end of the game, but it's not labeled finale. We have two more videos. One is the other 3 endings you get from the 2 major options in the game, and the finale is just the special ending. Again, for those who missed the earlier videos, the 2 things that determine your ending, at least when it comes to the main 4, are whether or not you saved Sybil, and whether or not you saw all the stuff with Kaufman in the resort area. If you did the Kaufman stuff, you get either of the good endings. If you didn't, you get either of the bad endings. The plus is just whether or not you saved Sybil or not. In fact, there's a lot of debate to this day on whether or not the good plus ending is canon or if the good ending is canon, because no matter what, one of those needs to happen for Silent Hill 3 to happen the way it does. But Silent Hill 3 basically doesn't refer to Sybil at all, so her fate is very much left ambiguous throughout the series. Outside of the slight reimagining of Silent Hill 1, that is Shattered Memories, which even then, that's a very different Sybil. In fact, that's 3 different Sybils, depending on your action in the game. We'll talk more about my thoughts on the game when we reach the final of those 5 endings, as I find that'll be a better time to just wrap up my thoughts, period. When it comes to the other endings, though, which next part's endings in particular, things are going to look a little different visually in that I used a different emulator to record those because, to be frank, I downloaded save files to do those other endings, so I didn't want to play through the game a total of 5 times. I just did that more or less for Mega Man ZX Advent, and I did not feel like doing that many playthroughs of a single game again. So there's going to be some minor visual differences with lighting, contrast, and all that, as well as because the emulator I used for this was BizHawk, but the one I used for that is the old one I used to use for my PS1 LPs, which is PSX Fin. And for some reason, this game just doesn't look right on that, namely when it comes to like any visual transitions, like the fade for the pause screen and all that. Getting a little ahead of myself with that, yes, but we'll talk more about that as we go. This is where you can first unlock several bonus weapons, though. In fact, I think you get one by default just for beating the game. I'll talk more about what you unlock and how you unlock it next part. But I should note, the credits theme that played here is known as Tears of, because every single ending has a different credits theme. And they continue that throughout the series until at least Silent Hill Origins, I think. I've always found that little, like, almost movie blooper segment really funny, because it's the only time the series does something directly like that. And the good plus ending details, Harry and Sybil getting away, and more or less raising the new baby as their own. And here are your game results. Depending on your actions throughout the game, you get rated on a scale of stars. The big stars indicate 1 full point, the small stars indicate decimals, so this is a 3.7. You can get up to, I think, a 9.9, or is it a 10? Whenever you see a text here marked in yellow, that means you got the best points for that. So I got the best ending, so I got points for that. I didn't die once, so points for that. And I got a majority of the items, so I got a good point for that. The others, though, you need to get pretty specific numbers for, and I'll talk more about that during the credits for the second ending we're showing off next part. But there's a whole lot of optimization you can do here. Like, I think you need to play the game on, like, hard. The more times you play the game, the better points you get for game clear or total, because that's counting, like, New Game Plus and all that. And what you see in the background are the items you've unlocked for beating the game the way you have. In this case, we got the chainsaw, the gas tank, the power drill, and the, it's not the summoning stone. I forget what the name of the blue thing is. We'll talk more about that in a couple parts. And from there, you can make a new save to start the game again on New Game Plus with more or less every weapon we have right now. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 12, more endings. See you guys then.